Hello everyone, it's Natasha from Treasure Books. As you can see, today we are making these paper fans, a super easy and quick journal embellishment idea, and you can make them in any size you wish using any material, including paper scraps, which is always a bonus, right? You can use them to embellish pages and pockets and journal covers, gifts, paper bags, what else? You can use them in Happy Mail and swaps, and I'll be discussing all the details in this video. Furthermore, you can use them as embellishments, yes, the looking pretty embellishments, but they can also be useful additions to your journal. They can be journaling spots and interactive elements, and I love interactive elements. I just have to say, I saw this idea in a video many years ago. And you know, sometimes you see an idea or a video and you want to make the thing, and then you go and you write it down in your ideas book, and then you return to it never, or 5 years later, which for me, it's been 5 years since I saw that video, and finally it's made it to the top of the list. And I'm so glad, because I had so much fun making this, and I hope you will too. I hope you are already feeling inspired, and I'll be showing you all the steps and all the variations, and I promise we're gonna have fun today. So that video that I mentioned will be linked down below, but for now, my friends, let's get creative. First thing you need is a triangle template. Here you decide how large do you want your paper fan. I'll demonstrate both large and small. For journaling spots and interactive elements, you may want to opt for the larger one. And for embellishments and things like that, you may want to opt for a little one. So you can see right away here, this is my little template. Okay, I'm going to start with the larger one, and I'm actually going to also show you how to make a perfect triangle, just in case if you need that sort of information, I suppose. I had to work it out, so. All right, for my template, I'm using a cereal box. You want something sturdy because you'll be using it over and over again. And you want to chop it down so it has a straight edge. Perfect. So I want my fan to start from here and here. So this is going to be the width. We're just looking at these 2 points now. And now I need to find the very middle in between those 2 points. Okay, this is the very middle in between those 2 points. And now I'm going to draw myself a line. Perfect. And now I have to join from this line to this point, and then from this line to this point, and I'll get my triangle. So this is where I'm deciding how tall do I want the paper fan, right? You don't have to, you can just eyeball it, which is what I've done with these. But I'm going to show you. Here's this paper fan. Now, if you remove all the frill, this is what you see, which is this. All right. Then if you want a little one, then you go for a small size. So now I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to decide I want it to start from here. I'll give you the measurements in a moment if it makes it easier, but I just eyeballed it there, and you can too. So now we're joining from here to here and from here to here. Okay, now we can cut it out, but I'm going to tell you the measurement first, just in case if you want it. The width of my paper fan is a little bit less than 8 centimeters. And the height of this paper fan, which I'll be making today, is 11.5 centimeters. If you need that translated into inches, you can just Google that. You can just type into Google, how much is 8 centimeters in inches? You know what I mean? Okay, here is my little template. This one is going to be a little bit smaller, shorter than the paper fans I've made already. Even more fun, we'll have all different sizes. All right, next thing you need to do is choose your paper. So for this project, you might want to have something a little bit sturdy. What I have here is cereal box lined with book page. I have to say, I really love the look of this one. I think it's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And you can see how it has stud. You can actually use it as a real fan. Not that I would, because I don't know. I want it in my journal, I suppose, but you know, you could. Now, if you opt for just scrapbook paper, you might find this kind of a thing. It's a little bit flimsier. I mean, it's difficult to demonstrate what I'm trying to say, but you can see that. Like, and if you tried to use it as a fan, it's a bit flimsy. So this is just scrapbook paper. You can see a little bit better the flimsiness on this one. See that when I lift it, especially if you have heavy embellishments on top. To me, that does not really matter, because the way that I envisioned these is in journals, inside pockets. They can be journaling spots. They can be glued down onto a page, just like this, you know, like a pocket in a page. So depending on what you want to use them for, the flimsiness may not be a big factor that you need to consider. Otherwise, try and find some sturdier paper. This is cardstock, and you can really see the difference there. Another thing that I found with this project is it's better to use paper that isn't too busy. So for example, this one that I've just shown you, you can see it's a little bit busy. So when you look at the finished project as a whole, it kind of all blends together, especially if you have something underneath. But look at this. So it's kind of all blending together. At first glance, you can't see the separated pieces, the little pizza pieces. But then when you look at this, you can see right away. You can see that separation. I think this is important when choosing your paper. I love how this looks as well. And basically what I'm trying to say is, when choosing paper for this project, I think it's a lot nicer if you go for something, let's say like this, rather than something like this, very busy, or even this, you know, takes away from the separate sections. Even though, look how glorious this looks. I'm gonna keep hoarding that one. So like this, too busy. So I am going to go and use this one. I found this secondhand, this paper pad. So who knows how old it is, but it's quite heavy. It's 200 GMS, so awesome. Okay, now what you have to do is use your template and cut out these shapes. So first of all, there's a couple of tricks I learned along the way. You always want to use your template on the same side. So don't do one this way and then another one this way, because there's always a little bit of a misalignment, if you know what I mean. Like, just choose a side, okay? Now, the next thing that you want to do is, you'll find, especially if you're using cereal box, it has this shiny side. If you choose that side, it can move. So when you go to do, I struggled with this. When I go to say draw my shape, it would move, and then I have to put it back perfectly. It just annoyed me to no end. So I always decide to use this side as my, you know, the side that goes down. And another thing that you can do, which I've done on this one here, when I realized that the shiny side keeps moving around, is I put a little bit of double-sided sticky tape. I'm gonna do it on this one, because you know what, this may not seem like such a big thing, and you might be thinking, just get on with the project, stop talking. But let me tell you, it's these little things that annoy the hell out of you and prolong the whole process. So I put double-sided tape, and then I like get rid of the stickiness. You don't want too much stickiness, so I'll go over my clothes like this. Perfect. Okay, we're ready. We are ready. I pop my template down, and this template, look at this, it's not going anywhere. Okay, just makes life easier, I promise. And now, of course, we're gonna draw around. Excellent. And then when it's time to lift it, you just kind of twist it this way, and it comes right off. And there's your first little piece. And then you can cut and then do the next one. I like to draw all of them at once. And all the fans that I've made, all of them have 6 of these pizza shapes. I'm just trying to utilize this paper in the best way possible. So I'm trying to find the perfect kind of spots. Okay, so we have 6 templates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or shapes, I should say. And now we can start cutting. So as you've noticed, I drew 2 shapes, one right next to the other. And that way I'm trying to kind of minimize this cutting time, I suppose, because, you know, with one cut over here, I made 2 cuts, one here, you know. I hope that makes sense. Pretty self-explanatory, but anyway. There, I said it. I only just started filming, so I'm feeling like I'm still warming up. All right, we have 2 pizza shapes, and 3 and 4, 5 and 6 pieces. All right, I'm gonna put them together and just double check. I like perfection, so I like to double check that they're all perfect. And if I at this point see that they're not all perfect, you know, we'll just move on with life. I just like the satisfaction of looking at this. Oh, look how perfect they are. Okay, so you may have noticed that I drew my lines on this side. You might want to turn your paper around and draw the lines on the other side. At this stage, you can, if you drew lines on the correct side, you might want to go and erase them. I find that inking the edges, which I always do, hides those lines anyway, so that's why it doesn't bother me. But before I do that, I just want to get rid of these sharp bits here at the end. Now, I have contemplated using corner rounders, this kind of a thing, but I find my corner rounders, I find it rounds the corners too much. And if I want to add lace, which I do, I have this really rounded corner, and then any lace that I kind of put to the edge, let's take this for example, and I have this fully rounded corner, I'm like, what do I do with the lace? It's just easier to leave the sharp edges, like the pointy edges, and then glue my lace there to the edge and then cut it straight. That's what I found. But I still don't like these really sharp edges here. It's just being a little bit pedantic, so I kind of just chop that off a little bit. And then once that's done, I start inking the edges. So I want to show you here. You can see that draw the line when I was drawing the template. And now when I go in and ink the edges, you can't see the line. So that's why I'm not worried about, you know, about that kind of thing. All right, inking the edges makes life so much better in general. If you're feeling down, ink some edges. If you're feeling blue, just go ahead and ink some edges. If you're feeling lonely, ink away, my friend. If you're feeling happy, ink away. If you're feeling sad, did we say that already? I'll stop now. What do you think about me doing a video on things I can't craft without? There are things that I literally, if I lost everything, the first things that I would replace is the sewing machine and this baby. Now, I'm kidding. I probably need to give it a bit more thought, if I'm being honest. See, the thing is, this inking business is not enjoyable. It's awfully boring, but it just makes everything so much better. Because now look, we have this, and you can see when I place them on top of each other, you can see the differentiation. You can see the separation of each little pizza slice. Whereas if I didn't ink the edges, like over here, see this? It all blends in. It's like nothing special. And then this, big difference, big difference. Okay, how easy is that? Like this is so self-explanatory how you go about this project that we don't even need to do a tutorial. Let's call it a craft with me. Okay, now at this point, I like to do the frill up the top because I feel like most paper fans have something up the top. I have 2 actual paper fans, and we can draw inspiration from this. This one's broken, so I want to use it in my crafting. But you can see this, it's got that beautiful lace up the top, and I don't know, this fun business down the bottom. We don't care about any of this, but you know, it can give you an inspiration. Even colors, you can look at these colors black and gold, my favorite. And you can go ahead and when you're choosing the papers, you can go for like black and gold theme. Okay, but looking at this one doesn't actually have any lace up the top. It has kind of like a drawn on lace. It's not actually glued on or stitched on or anything. But look at this, how gorgeous. Okay, what a beautiful inspiration this is, isn't it? I actually have a massive fan right behind my desk. Look at this monstrosity. It is huge. I don't really like it anymore. You can see in comparison to my sewing machine and this fan thing on the wall. I've had that fan for that many years that I actually became completely blind to it. You know when you have something in your house for a long time and then you just stop seeing it? That's what's happening with that huge fan on the wall. All right, time to choose the lace. My absolutely favorite type of lace for this project is this kind of a lace, which I don't have anymore. Basically, it looks something like this, but this one's a little bit gathered here up the top. You might have something like this. And then you can go and weave any color ribbon that you want to match your theme. Unfortunately, I don't have any more of this lace. So that would be my number one choice. Oh, I have a piece of it. This is the piece that I have left. This is what it looks like. So you might have something like that in your stash. Beautiful. You weave a ribbon through and then you glue it on top. Okay, I don't have any left. Then for this one here, you can see as a whole, and then you can see each individual piece. We're just looking at the lace, and this is what the lace looks like. All right, so have a look at your laces. I mean, anything I put, literally anything I put on top is gonna look good, but we don't want it to look good. We want it to look absolutely stunning. Well, I do. How about this lace? Maybe I can, oh, I love this one. I'm going to use this one, even though it's yellow and pink kind of doesn't go together. But just we're just looking at some ideas. I've got this lace, which I used on this one here. And then I kind of didn't like how it looked. So I went ahead and I took this and just cut out the little flowers and glued them on top. So this is the part that kind of takes the longest when you're looking at, oh, what lace should I use? And then you pull out all of your millions of little lace pieces that you have, and you're like, does this look good? Does that look good? They all look good. Now I wanted to show you this one here, but I can't find the lace. You can see what the lace looks like. And what I did is I gathered it up as I was, so I would apply the glue and then put my lace down and then gather it up a little bit, just like so. And that's why this one has some little pleats in there. You can see that. All right, time to stop talking and start playing. But can we first just take a moment to appreciate these little cuties? Look at this, and look at the lace. Ooh, two different laces here. I mean, aren't they just absolutely gorgeous? Oh, all right. I am going to do the little ones next. Okay, we're gonna do one by one. I have chosen my lace. So first I'm gonna chop off bits of lace that are slightly larger than my, width here. And I'm just gonna use glue. You can sew. You can do whatever you wanna do. I'm applying glue. It's gonna seep through and I'm not gonna care. Just gluing it down. Once I've applied the glue, I grab a book page and I just press it down. Just so I don't get all that glue on my fingers. Press it right down. Remove the book page and let it aside to dry. And then repeat the process on the remaining 5. Lovely. Look how glorious they are, already looking so rich and beautiful. Okay, now shinking piers into action. I like to have a little bit of frilly lace kind of coming off the side. You can see that. I'll leave a little margin and do that. And then I kind of look at it. I might want to round some corners over here. I don't know. Maybe just a tiny little bit. Have a bit of a, these are all minor details, but I like a little bit of a rounded corner there. Okay, that one's ready to go. And once that's all done, you can go ahead and start embellishing them or take them to your sewing machine, which is what I'm going to do. This is totally optional, but I like to have a little stitch on just one edge and then a stitch here on the front piece on both edges. It's just what I like. So if you're using a pattern paper with different kind of a design on all of your little pieces, or if you're using like scrap pieces and they're all different, this is where you decide which one is going to be your top piece. In my session today, or in this particular project, it doesn't really matter what is my top piece. But I just want to say before I continue, if you take note of this lace, you see how it's all glued down straight, and kind of if you just focus on this, you can see straight edge, straight edge, straight edge, straight edge. If you want to avoid that, you can glue your lace curved. So you might be able to see on these little ones, see how it's like curved all around, and this one as well, curved all around. But then on this one, for example, straight, straight, straight. I mean, once the project is finished, it's not that noticeable or visible, but I see it now. Like now when I'm looking at this, I can see all of these straight edges. So because I didn't glue down my lace kind of a little bit curved, I'm going to play around on my sewing machine with this. I might add a stitch here just to make it a little bit more fun. I'll bring you along for the ride. I'll just do one perhaps on camera and then you can see what I'm doing. But by all means, you can completely skip the sewing step. It's not necessary, it's just for fun. Okay, so as you can see, I have a white top thread and dark brown bottom thread. It doesn't matter, I think it adds to the effect, so you'll see what I mean in a moment. So I'm going to stitch here and then down over here. I'm not going to worry about this part because it's not visible. If you have a look, the only visible part is the left hand side, the right hand side not visible, so I'm not doing any stitching. That's the top part. So you can see how that bottom stitch, the brown stitch, it's kind of peeking through. I really like that look, the white and the brown stitch. I don't know, I like it. I probably should have started here and just gone across here, but I didn't, so I'm just going to do it in 2 goes. Here's how that's looking. I like the look of that, I really do. So I'm going to do this on my 5 pieces. And for my final piece, the very top piece, I'm just gonna do all the way. It looks like an ice cream. I'm gonna do all the way around. And done. Look how sweet that's looking. I love the stitches. So you might want to remove all of the threads at this stage, or you might want to keep them. I think it adds to the character to keep some of the threads, perhaps not all. So if I show you this one, thread free, got rid of all of the threads. This one doesn't even have any sewing. So like I said, it's an option. This one, I kept the threads. I think it's, you know, adds more. It's like if you're going for that grungy look or like shabby chic, I think it looks nice to leave the threads. And I also like leaving the threads down the bottom. Perhaps you can see on these little ones a little bit better. You can see that I left those threads. So I have realized doing this project that I like the threads, but I went ahead and removed all the side threads, and I'm just going to keep the bottom threads here. All right, moving along. At this stage, we are ready to put this fan together, make it into a fan. But before I do that, I like to kind of look at this and decide, what do I want to do? Do I want to go ahead and embellish? You can, you know, add stamping, you can add little ephemera pieces, you can leave it as it is, you can just decorate the front. And I've done different things on all of them. This one, I have decorated the front and added some little flowers. So I kind of make this decision before I put it all together, because sometimes it's easier to just decorate and then put it together. So you can see just a few. Honestly, like not much at all. We've done the sewing and the lace. You can go ahead and do something like this, have a little front piece, and then just a few extra bits, just on some of them. Or you don't, especially if you have threads, the threads on its own is a bit of an embellishment. You can just do the front and leave the others as they are. Or you don't have to do anything at all, like this little one. Or you can go ahead and add different things, like I have some words, I have some random stickers, and I have a stamp. All right, so for today's project, I have decided that I don't want to really do anything to this because I think it looks pretty sweet as it is. I just want to decide what I'm going to do on the front. And I'm just going to say that this isn't that easy to decide. Like when you start making the project, you know, watching the video is one thing and you think that's really straightforward, very easy. And then you go and you start to make it, and then all these things pop up and issues and decisions you have to make, like what am I going to do here, how am I going to put it together, whatever. So this is why I'm kind of breaking it down into step by step. I have decided I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to go in and just decorate the front, or at least decide at this stage what I want to do. So I definitely think I want to use these little blink pieces on the front here. I think it's gonna, oh look, if I cover the whole thing, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do the top. And then I also saw this in my bling stash. They're like faux wax seals, but they're stickers. And I think this would look quite nice if I had like a, let's say a dried flower here, and then I pop one of these onto the stem. I think that would look good. Or even a sticker maybe, or even a stamp. I had this on my desk when I cleaned up my stamp last night. So if I stamped on top, I think that would look good. And then pop this onto the stem like this. How does that look? Not very nice. So I'm going to scrap that idea. Maybe a little bit of cheesecloth might look good. Perhaps I could gather it up here in the middle. No, that looks really bad, doesn't it? Yeah, that looks really bad. Okay, scrap that idea. This part takes definitely the most amount of time, and I'll show you what I was kind of looking at. You know, a little butterfly that looks quite cute. Maybe something flat, because this is quite bulky here. If it's going into a pocket inside a journal, we don't want anything really bulky. So then I decided to simply go with a little cutout doily, let's say, and then another little flower, which I'm just going to ink up just a tiny little bit, and then this flower, and I think that'll do. That will do. Okay, apply a bunch of glue and glue all the pieces down. Oh, I completely forgot I was gonna add this. Never too late. You can really go to town with this. Have lots of laces and frills and all sorts of stuff. Whatever floats your boat. Maybe I can do some individual ones. I don't know. You can't really go wrong. Here it is. I like it, I like it. Okay, that's done. Now that some decisions have been made, we can pop them all together, and we just have a couple more decisions to make. So obviously we need something that's going to hold it in place down here. The best thing that you can use is a brad. So like, for example, something like this would be ideal, but it's quite chunky, that one. Or I could use a little brad like this. This one would work. That looks quite nice. All right, I'm just gonna go for this simple pink brad that's gonna hold everything together. And this looks ugly as it is now, doesn't it? So the way that we can make it look pretty is, of course, we can do something simple like a little bow. I love that idea. I think that's my favorite idea. Otherwise, we're going to go into the frill. All right, so frill it is. So first of all, you can just take a little piece of ribbon, pop the ribbon down, and pop the brad through and hold that ribbon in place. Or we can do the ribbon and some sari silk or seam binding. I have this crinkled sari silk. I'm going to leave a link down below where you can get this crinkled stuff. But this is the decision time. What do I want to do? Which color do I want to use? What looks good with my current project? So I kind of grab the thing, put it next to it. No, that's too bright, you know, too colorful. How about this one? No. How about this cream? No. Red? Absolutely not. Actually, that's not too bad. A little bit of contrast. Never killed the muse. We don't want to kill the muse. So it seems like I'm going with my very first choice. Okay, we're nearly done with this. And then we can breeze through the little one, and then I can give you lots more ideas. I'm going to grab a long piece because I might want to tie a bow, you know, something like that. Seam binding ready. You can use lace. You can like use some thin lace down the bottom as well. It might even look better. You could perhaps even, like, I don't know, grab a piece of applique, put it down there. What do we think about this? Like a little butterfly. I don't know. I don't know until I test it out. How would that look with the ribbon? It would look okay. Can be done. But I think I'm going to stick with the same binding. Okay, so first thing, before we do anything else, I want them all aligned. Now, if you have embellishments and frilly bits and everything, it might be a little bit difficult. So just turn it to the other side and really make sure that everything is aligned, especially the points down here, down the bottom. The point has to be aligned. All right, so that's looking good. Protect your desk, something squishy, foamy, and then grab your pokey tool, holding everything in place. Pop it down and poke a hole. So I usually go about here, not all the way down the bottom here. So definitely somewhere up here will do. Poke the hole, and I'm gonna leave that in there, poked like that until I get this ready. I have my ribbon, poke the hole somewhere there in the middle, pop the brad through, perfect. And now I'm just going to make this hole a tiny little bit bigger. Excellent. And pop the brad through. Perfect. And now, before I close the feet of the brad, I want to grab my seam binding. Now you might want to wrap it underneath the brad and come up the top and tie a little bow, or you can go over the top of the brad, which is what I'm going to do. Slide it under. It is now securely under my brad, and now I can go to the other side and open those prongs and close them. We're at the front, and now I can tie a bow, move things into place. I want this perhaps like that, and now things are moving around. I'm gonna pop this down, keep it in place, my paperweight, and tie a bow. And perhaps we want to trim some stuff down. And I think it's looking better without the strings, so I'm just even gonna chop off all the strings. Here it is, the finished product. And then you can open your little fan. Voila! How beautiful! I like it very much, but I feel like I could do a little bit more embellishing on the inside. And here we go. I added some more bling pieces. I mean, totally not my style, but I still think it's very, very pretty. Now, this is chunky, so this can't go into a journal in a pocket. This could be like a cool little piece that you send in Happy Mail, or as part of a package, or just a pretty little thing that you make. You can have it as decoration in your house. I don't know. So you can utilize this in many different ways, and depending on how you want to use it is how you go about embellishing it. Okay, now that we've done this one, I love it. I think it's so pretty. We can go ahead and make a little one. These are my absolute favorite, I have to say. I made these last night, and the bigger ones I've made over the last couple of days. And last night I was like, oh, what about if I make a tiny little one? And then when I did, I thought, oh, this is so sweet. I prefer the little ones to the larger ones, but I suppose they serve different purposes. Okay, here's my template. I'm going to give you the measurements. Metric system, 4 centimeters. Imperial system, 1.5 inches, slightly over. Okay, so that was the width. And now the height of these little things, sides of the triangle. In inches, it's 2 1/4. And in centimeters, it's about 5.5 centimeters. Okay, so that's the size of this template that I have here. And that is what gives me these little cutie patooties. If you want to go ahead and do something like that, you know, for embellishments and things, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Plus, good way to use up all the scraps. Okay, let's make one. This one's gonna be real quick because I don't have to talk about anything. And maybe it'll be fun for demonstration purposes if I use my scraps. I just need 6 pieces of scraps, but I still want it to kind of go. Okay, this one I'm gonna do with a bow at the end because it looks so pretty. So no frilly stuff down the bottom. I have 5 little pizza slices ready to go. I'm just cutting them out, and I'm just deciding for my 6th piece. See how when it's very busy, and especially when they're kind of on top of each other, it loses the edge. You can't see that edge. So I think it's better to use, like I said before, something like this. And I have decided for my 6th little scrap, I'm gonna use this paper over here. Okay, see how crap-a-doodle that looks now? But when it's done, it's gonna look absolutely fabulous. Who feels like eating pizza now? I know I do. Once that is done, we shall ink the edges. A fabulous scrap busting project this is, especially for the little pieces. I think that I can say safely that using the exact same paper rather than mixing and matching, I think it gives you a better result. I'm not entirely sure. We shall soon find out. All right, after the edges are inked, we shall apply the lace, and this time I'm gonna curve the lace. I'm gonna use this ruffled lace, which already has a slight little curve in it. And of course, I'm leaving extra on the sides. We are real close now. All right, there's that glue, and down comes the lace in a curved fashion, shall we say? Yeah. Next. Here's my little pizza. They're ready to go. I just need to wait for them to dry, and then I shall continue. Okay, now that my pizza slices are officially dry, I can go ahead and trim off the excess. And now I'm going to take them to my sewing machine. Loveliness. Now I'm going to chop off the threads just on the sides, but I'm leaving these bottom threads. Can't even see the sewing on this busy paper, but I changed my top thread back to brown, so now you can see here that brown. Okay, next we want to arrange them so that they align perfectly. I already know I'm going to use this bow, so I'm just checking where do I want the bow. Somewhere there. And now poke the hole through all the layers and poke the hole in the bow right there in the middle. Grab my little brad and pop it through the bow. You know what we're doing here. Now I can remove this, and that brad can go through. Oh, isn't that sweet? And close the little feet. And here we have our little pooty patootie paper fan. Isn't that sweet? I might give it a little bit of a trim here and there. And now you have these little bits sticking out. They don't bother me. I left them on all of them. But if you want, you can move your threads out of the way and, like, perhaps, I don't know, get rid of them either completely or trim them down so that they're not visible. Now you can see them because I've pointed them out, but you see this. I mean, it doesn't look that, I even prefer this than what I just did, but either way, they look like little jellyfish. Either way, and whatever you put them on, it just makes everything look so exquisite. Let's see this little journal. Even if you put it on a journal cover, perhaps this one's a bit busy, like this. Very cute. I made this last night so I can showcase the beauty of this gorgeous project. I'm in love with these little mini ones. Okay, so let's discuss how you can use the larger ones. Here is a journal I'm currently working in. It's not bound or anything. Just to show you as an example, this is a page in my journal I'm working in, and as I said, and this element here is glued down here and here, so it's like a tuck spot, right? So you can have anything. I'm just going to grab another page from the journal, but obviously it's too big. You can have something tucked in there. That's pretty cool. And also what I did when I glued these bits down, I also applied a little bit of glue under each one of these, so it's not moving. It's like one piece, right? You can't, but you could glue just this section down, and then it can be like a movable, interactive piece in your journal. For example, just as an example, let's take this page. Now, if I was to do this, look how glorious this looks. I wouldn't have this much chunk down here, or maybe I would. I mean, who knows? This bread is very chunky, so I probably wouldn't go for that. But maybe I would do the whole seam binding thing, and you know, really depends what you're going for. So then you can just take this whole thing and just glue it here, just this section. So then, like, I just love journals that have all these interactive movable bits, right? That really appeals to me. So whenever I'm crafting, I'm kind of looking at how we can make a journal with all these different ideas and different things that flip out, flip up, open up. You have to kind of work out, what do I do with this? What's this? Where's this clipped? I love that. So this is, you know, this is an idea. And I think this on its own, beautiful on a journal cover. You can glue the whole thing down. The whole thing can be glued down. I love that. I absolutely love this. Like literally anywhere you go and anywhere you put it, it just looks so beautiful. You can have like a tab. I don't know, I don't like that idea very much, but something like this, a little tuck spot or something like that. Let's go to the middle signature. I mean, the middle of the signature here, because I usually have these pocket pages, and obviously this is work in progress, but I'm just looking for a pocket. You can have something like this in the pocket. This one's very chunky. You may not be a fan of chunky journals. I like chunky journals, but you know, you see where I'm going with this. It is chunky. And by the way, you don't have to have cardstock, you know. You don't have to have 5 or 6 pieces. You can have, let's see how it look with just 4 pieces. This is how it look with just 4 pieces. I mean, still, you know, I mean, this can open all the way like this. Here's a less chunky one, probably a better example to show you. You can have it like at the start of the journal, you know, something like this. You can have it clipped onto the journal. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop talking now because I'm sure you're getting lots of your own ideas. Oh my goodness, isn't this a fantastic... Now this is the kind of pizza I want. Yes, I'll have a slice of that pizza, thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed this project and I hope you did too. Trying to find the best way to showcase these beauties and to show them all at once. Ooh, is this... Oh, I can see a face. Well, if that isn't sweet, I don't know what is. This gives me real shabby chic vibes. I had so much fun with this project, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. You have to let me know what you think. Have you seen these before? And have you made them before? And which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the little tiny cute little ones, or do you prefer the bigger ones? I think, like I said, I like the little ones, but again, it all depends on what you want to use it for. I love the fact that we can use our scrap pieces to make these, and also of course that it's very easy to do, as you've seen, like really easy, but it opens up so many different creativity pathways. I think when you're thinking, what else can I do and how can I use this? I think this would be really fun as part of like Happy Mail or like a swap or something like that. You can even make them for craft fairs. And you know, if you make them sturdy enough, you can actually use it as a real fan. I mean, I don't see why not. And then you're fanning yourself and everyone's like, oh, what's that you got there, sweet little lady? Show me. And then you're like, well, darling, I made this myself. Anyway, please let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.